And it is Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank here on AM 1160 WCCS 101.1 FM. And, well, we just heard from Luther Ford. And why not? Let's keep talking about them because they will be the host site for this weekend's Keeping Kids Safe project, Luther Ford Lincoln, that's happening on Saturday from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And it's rain or shine. And on the telephone with us to talk about it from the Keeping Kids Safe project is Lytyshya Borglum. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on this morning. I certainly do appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate the fact of what you are doing, this Keeping Kids Safe project. You actually hook up with community-minded organizations such as Luther Ford Lincoln to bring some very, very important programs in this case, to Homer City, but everybody's invited to bring their kids and to join you on Saturday morning.
That's right. What we do is we actually travel around the country, and we have a digital fingerprinting program that we can do, that we come in and provide to communities. But in addition to that, we partner up with all sorts of great local organizations and put everything together there at Luther Ford Lincoln. So they're kind of giving us the indoor space, so it's, like you said, rain or shine. And we're going to have a digital fingerprinting program, but then in addition, we've got all sorts of local organizations coming out that'll have great safety information for families on, how can we be safer as a family? How can we be safer as a community, and help protect our kids and help stop some situations from coming up that might be dangerous to them. And then in addition to that, we've got all sorts of fun activities going on for the kids, so it's really going to be a great day.
Absolutely. Participants will include Indiana County Sheriff Bob Fyock and his office, the Humane Society, Young Brothers Taekwondo with some demonstrations, lots of others. Lytyshya, explain to folks why it's important to have a fingerprint record of your child.
Sure. The best reason is because we have all heard the scary statistics when someone has had to call law enforcement and they believe that their child is missing, and those statistics start racing through your head. We all know time is important. And so what we want to do is make it so that parents can come out and have their fingerprinting record made up and take it home with them so that if an emergency should arise, they can at that time immediately hand it over to local law enforcement, get the Amber Alert out there and running, and help to locate that child as quickly as possible. That's definitely one of the things that takes the most time in an emergency situation, is just gathering of all that critical information that they need before they can even start the process. And so when families come out, what we're going to do is a digital fingerprint program where we don't take any personal information from the children at all. What we do is take a photograph and the fingerprints, and then we format those so that we can print it out, give it to the parents. They will fill out all the personal information, and then they can just store it in with their child's school photos at home so that they just have it as a peace of mind if that emergency should come up. And then in addition to those records, like I mentioned, we're going to have all sorts of great organizations there with different safety information, different safety tips, things that we can do that, just help us stay a little bit safer all the time. And I don't know about you, but I'm a parent myself, and things have changed so much since we grew up that it's hard to know, what do we teach our kids? What's the right thing? Do we still teach stranger danger? How do we handle internet safety? And so those are a lot of the topics that we're going to just kind of approach and give out information on to parents so that way they can make those decisions for themselves on how can they stay a little bit safer all the time.
You're absolutely right. In today's day and age, there are many more opportunities for predators to get at your kids, and protecting them has to be the number one priority. But my goodness, with the internet out there, with all kinds of different ways of contacting your children without you ever knowing it, parents need to be aware of all of those safety measures that they can take.
Absolutely, they do. And, we can talk to parents about, just learning what kind of things to teach, like having a family password in place as those kids get a little bit older and they get a little bit more independent. And, things like how to teach between a safe stranger and a dangerous stranger. A dangerous stranger is an adult asking a child for help, because adults ask adults for help. They don't ask children. And so that's a great way that we can kind of put those tools in their hands so that if something like that comes up, rather than having a panicked reaction, they have a prepared reaction. They have that little bit of a click that says, I've talked with my mom, or I've talked to my dad about this. This is not a good situation. I need to get out of this situation so that I can be safe. And so that's really our main goal is, the fingerprinting is definitely important. Don't get me wrong. It's a great program because we're not going to take their personal information. Those records get to go directly home with parents for safekeeping. But in addition to that, more importantly, we're going to start talking about some of those things that can sometimes be hard to talk about as a parent. And it's such a great environment to do it in because we've got so much fun stuff going on. And hopefully, we can just start that communication between families and kind of jump-start it and get those conversations going so that we never need the fingerprinting records in the end.
Lytyshya Borglum is our guest. The Keeping Kids Safe project is coming to Luther Ford Lincoln along Route 119 in Homer City on Saturday from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. You mentioned something a moment ago that I think is very important, and that is that at this event and events that are formatted in this way, it's very important for the kids to be at ease. And so to make this a fun event instead of something that is going to be a burden on them and frighten them, then obviously you don't want to do that. You want to keep this lighthearted enough so that the kids will understand it's an important issue. But if I just do things the way that I should and do some basic safety measures, I ought to be okay, and life can go on. It doesn't have to be so strenuous or so stressful.
That's absolutely right. And, you mentioned some of the organizations that are coming out, and if you notice, we've got such a nice mix of safety organizations, folks that have great initiatives going on for families, like Homer City Police Department and the Fire Department, the Sheriff's Office coming out. We've got a program called Operation Lifesaver that just teaches families how to be safer around railroad tracks. And we've got, the Indiana Regional Medical Center coming out with their safety program. But then we've also got some fun stuff going on, too, like Go Lancers is coming out, and they're going to have a bounce house for kids. And from 11 to 2, Luther Ford Lincoln actually lined up for Living Treasures Wild Animal Park to come out. And they're just coming out with a petting zoo and free pony rides for the kids. So it's really going to be, like you said, a nice, inviting atmosphere. It's fun for kids. It's not, that scary, gosh, this is such an awkward thing to talk about. And so it makes it lighthearted and fun, and we can talk about some of these things about how do we get safer as a family in a way that's not going to be terrifying.
Tell me about Keeping Kids Safe project. How did it come to be?
Well, I'm actually one of the co-founders of our program. We started here locally in the Midwest back in 2004, and I was really passionate about finding a way that we could help communities, not just help families be safer through a program that we did, but how to raise awareness on what kind of great things are going on right there in their own backyard. There's so many great organizations that are doing stuff to help families be safer, and I really wanted to find a way to get back to, how it was a little bit when we were younger. I kind of go back to that, but we always talk about it takes a village to raise a child, and nowadays with social media and just as busy as we are, we're really, disconnected as a village. And so we need to kind of bring that back together, bring the community back together with families, and reconnect so that when situations do come up in our town, down the street, we know how to react as a community, and we can support each other and help to protect kids better. And I think when we approach it that way, we're going to have a much better impact long run.
Yeah, absolutely. The borders of that one community that it takes to raise a child, those borders have expanded greatly because of it's all over the world right now, and we just need to protect ourselves. Do the smart things. I'm sure just doing common sense things with your family. One of the things that you mentioned a couple of moments ago, have a family password. That's something that we might not think of coming up with ourselves, but it has so many. You can already see the potential for how that can save a lot of headaches and heartaches.
Oh, absolutely. And, a lot of parents, when they think about our program and they think about getting fingerprints done, they think younger kids. And that's certainly true. We do have a lot of younger kids that come out and need the records done, and it doesn't hurt anyone to have them on record. But, the scary thing is that in the United States, the average age of an abducted child is actually 13.
Wow.
And that's surprising to so many people. But at the same time, if you think about it, that's when we start giving them more independence. And it's such a struggle to figure out how much independence do we give them. So something like a family password really empowers them, and it's twofold. One, it makes it so that if anyone ever approaches them and says there's been a family emergency and they need to get them to the hospital or they need to take them home, they can have that family password in place to ask and try to figure out, is that a safe situation? But then on top of that, if that child is ever in a situation with friends or, out in the community somewhere and they're not with their parents and they need to call and say, I'm not comfortable, I need you to come and get me. That's not an easy thing to do if you've got a bunch of other kids around or someone that's not safe standing right next to you. If you have that family password in place, that's something you can share over the phone. And as soon as it gets said, it can be, something that's very, very simple that just the parents and the children know. And as soon as that's said, then the parents know there's something going on. My child is uncomfortable. I need to go pick them up immediately. And so if we can just give them those little tools, then, what my hope is that in the future, we can hear more and more stories on the news about how something potentially dangerous happened, but a child knew what to do. They had the right tools in place. The family had talked about things, and so they knew how to get out of a certain situation and protect themselves. And I certainly love to hear those stories a lot more than the scarier ones that we hear.
The event is called Keeping Kids Safe Project. It's happening on Saturday from 10 a.m. until 4 at Luther Ford Lincoln in Homer City. Lytyshya Borglum, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you again how much we appreciate you helping us get the word out. It's been such a great experience putting this event together in the Homer City community and the surrounding communities that are coming in to support it. So we're really looking forward to just having an amazing event.
And we're looking forward to having you here. Have a wonderful day today, okay?
Thank you. You as well.